I don't know. I've been married. How long have we been married? 27 years. That's how long we've been married. Color commentary from Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello, Julia.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hello, and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week, we continue a retrospective we call Creepy School with the 1982 film The House on Sorority Row. This, if you're counting along at home, is episode 319. The House on Sorority Row, also known as House of Evil in the UK, is a 1982 American slasher film written and directed by Mark Rosman, produced by John G. Clark, and starring the one and only Eileen, Davidson, and Kathryn McNeil, who are like queens of soap operas. The plot follows a group of sorority sisters being stalked and murdered during their graduation party after they conceal a fatal prank against their house mother. The film was shot on location in Pikesville, Maryland in the summer of 1980. Little photography done in Los Angeles. And it was named by Complex in 2017 as one of the greatest slasher films of all time. Of all time, Drew. Of all time. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, publisher at Castlebridge Media. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, tech director at Rooster Teeth, lead singer and bassist of the band Deserts of Mars, and lead guitarist of the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin, Mr. Drew Edwards is the writer-creator of the long-running underground comic Halloween Man, currently published by Comixology. He is a Best Writer Ringo nominee, Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Award winner, and a member of the Pen American Fellowship. Say hello, Drew.
Awful people.
Awful people. All right. Well, we'll get into that. Well, we may even have different thoughts about that. And finally, also in Denver, color commentary from Julia Guzman.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
All right, then let's get our opening thoughts. We're going to start with Drew because it's his turn, because we haven't started with Drew in a number of episodes. But I might be dooming it because I don't think Drew has very many good things to say. Let's find out. Drew, opening thoughts.
I wouldn't go that far. I didn't hate this. I feel like it's I don't know that I would go as to say that I'd watch it in like regular rotation or anything like that. It's an interesting artifact of its time. It's like very much like you can see the influence of the first Friday the 13th movie on this. Mm-hmm. You can see a lot of the the Giallo influence on this. The thing that I was when I'm bringing up Friday the 13th, the thing that I think that I was really struck by, because I've never seen this before, amazingly, even though this seems like a movie I should have seen dozens of times. The people in this movie are all awful. And like when you watch a Friday the 13th movie, like there's that sort of like EC Comics morality thing going for it. You can die for being a jerk, which in the real world, it's not really okay to kill somebody for being a jerk. Yeah. Whereas the people being stalked and killed in this movie really do kind of have it coming. They are awful. Like uniformly terrible people. Like these sorority girls are hiding bodies and not wanting to deal with the consequences of their action. And the nicest one about it, the nicest one in this movie, she's still pretty terrible because she doesn't call the police because of peer pressure.
That's
like
true.
Still kind of terrible. And I just found that like kind of like my jaw kept hitting the floor because every time even the cop is terrible. Like the minor characters, they're all terrible. So
I just want to mention that Morgan, the blonde, she does not seem to have a mean bone in her body. However, it is remarkable.
Yes, but she still goes along with all of it.
And and it also sometimes is remarkable that Morgan possesses the brain power to continue, automating her body. So there's that. Anyway,
I just feel like everybody, like, this is a truly cynical movie, like in a way that a lot of other
That's so funny. Okay.
a lot of other horror films from this time period are not. Like this this movie, if we are to believe the morality that is the way this projected into my brain, that morality works, is that everybody is awful, especially authority figures and sorority girls.
Maybe it's just right.
Well, yes,
Row.
First of all, I agree with Drew about everybody being awful and stupid. God, so many stupid people. Holy crap. Like, I really was just stunned, especially Morgan. Oh my gosh, that poor child. And then, but just so many dumb people. But when, exactly. When so Eileen Davidson, is, I know her from my years watching Days of Our Lives as Kristen DeMera, but she is just an awful person. And then she believes she has killed the house mother, and suddenly everybody's in on it. Like, they're all accomplices, and we're all going down together. And it's unbelievable. You're just like, why are any of you going along with this? She's the one who had the gun. She's the one who shot her. None of you had anything to do with this, except right now, especially the law school girl. There's like a girl going to law school, supposedly. I'm like, starting now, you are committing a crime. Starting now. But if you don't, if you decide to go call the cops, not the cops, the ambulance, because they're like, maybe she's not dead. How do we know she is? What was it? I can't remember now with Morgan's line. But anyway, I think how do we know she is alive when they finally think that she might be alive? But yeah, there is no logical reason whatsoever, except as you so adroitly put it, Drew, peer pressure by stupid bully Eileen Davidson, that they would not try to revive her, call the cops, whatever. Oh my God. So from that point, but there's so much idiocy in this movie. There's so much, just like, I don't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was dumb. I thought there was a lot of, even the effects. Now there were some creative effects, but they're gory, and I don't like gore. So, but there were some creative effects. There was like a really interesting, couple of interesting murders that I thought were, kind of bizarre. But the acting in many cases was so bad, I just couldn't get past it. And anyway, so this movie was like maybe 80% I did not like it, and 20% I liked.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Coney, I mean, so you had not seen this movie before?
No, I think I'd seen it on Riff Tracks, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I, had to watch it. So I watched it actually 2 or 3 times now. Just randomly. And I think it's
haven't you and I seen this movie?
The cover.
I could have sworn that we have seen this film together.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that we've seen it at, maybe a Weird Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
That's possible. But wow, is it convoluted. And wow, I agree, everybody's really either terrible or stupid or very susceptible to peer pressure in ways that baffle the mind. Hey, I'm gonna, it's cool if you shoot a gun around me, that's fine. Let's be jerks in the house and get kicked, like all of it. Oh man, there's just so much. I actually, as far as slasher movies go, I don't know. It's a decent enough horror movie. It's definitely something I'm surprised I never rented back in the day on VHS or saw on cable even. I don't even know why. Because the cover is actually pretty evocative. It's actually a pretty good cover.
Yeah.
And I guess just because in general the whole sorority thing is so not like I'm this huge counterculture person, but I never really want to see a bunch of sorority people even get their comeuppance. I just didn't want to be
I'm with you. Yeah.
Around them. I didn't want to deal with that. I caught enough crap in high school. It never interested me outside of maybe Animal House. Which I still enjoy, warts and all.
That's probably why I never saw this either, is that just like the sorority culture thing is a bit lost on me.
Understood. Yeah. And part of that's probably why it was called something like, in the UK, what was it called? It was called something like House of Evil. House of Evil. Because the whole sort of context is slightly different. So you don't have the instant, Sorority Row. Sure. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't either. I went to a small private Catholic liberal arts college. They didn't have sororities at all or fraternities. Nothing. It was actually a sad and lonely existence the entire 4 years. But
Baloney.
Julia came and visited me often.
Malarkey.
Though. No, it was a good time. But there were no but there was no Greek system there. And so to me, the whole Greek thing is just an abstract fictional thing, just like we were talking about last week with the initiation of Sarah. I may as well be one of those people who just didn't go to college, because it's all I know about the sorority system is what I learned from movies like this. Yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you though, Tony. Did you finish your opening thought?
I'm just I don't know. It's a decent enough movie. It has some weird twists when you're not just constantly watching people do dumb things.
Yeah.
Or dance at the absolute whitest dance ever.
Yeah.
I've been to some. I mean, I was in band in the middle of nowhere, in the tiny band, and I've been to dances that had more groove than that dance.
They had a good band though. That was the best band. That was a way better band than any party I've ever been to.
Julia really enjoyed the band.
I mean, yeah, the kind of Cars meets Cheap Trick band.
Yeah. Yes.
Cheaper.
Right.
I think the riff tracks guys called it cheapest trick or cheaper trick, something like that. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I mean, they're doing what they're doing. They're definitely, hey, everybody, the Cars and Cheap Trick are doing what they're doing. We're gonna do that.
Yes.
Which is good, and they're doing it at a party, so it's, it wouldn't make sense to have more hard rock band, although they kind of have a little bit of that look as well.
Yes.
But it is.
The band leader has a beautiful mullet.
It's a swell mullet.
Gorgeous hair.
Well, it's not a mullet. It's that, like,
it's not a mullet.
Just coming out of the 70s, like, just the way it's shaped. It's like,
I guess that's
it's more of a shag. I suppose you're right.
Yeah. The Rick Ocasek look.
It's more coming out of the mod glam rock. Like, again, it's the Cars meets Cheap Trick is what they're going for. They sound, I mean, they sound good. Hey, any band, I don't know if they were actually a band or not. I guess I should look that up. But
they are. They're a Washington D.C. based band called 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 doctors
that were booked to do
that's right. I did look at the end. But hey, if you're in a band, somebody wants you to be in a movie.
Yeah.
Cool in the gang.
And get lines and everything. Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, not a bad gig.
They're called a power pop band.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I didn't, again, I'm also on I didn't hate it, but it's not a movie. I say this after watching it 2 or 3 times. It's not a movie I would revisit very often, I think. It's
I'm
a lot of crazy choices are made in it, though.
I'm chuckling at this sentence. I'm scanning the IMDb things, and I'm chuckling at this sentence. The house in Sorority Row building itself, seen in the film, was a converted mansion outside Baltimore in the American state of Maryland. I'm just like, I didn't know IMDb was like this foreign,
that international. Yes.
The American state of Maryland. Anyway, I was born in Baltimore, FYI. Not that it's
that's right. You're a Marylander. So. Thank you very much, Tony. As Julia pointed out, this movie was one of the movies that Quentin Tarantino chose for his first so-called Tarantino Fest, which was a big, just a film festival of movies that Quentin Tarantino felt like showing to whoever bought tickets in Austin, Texas, back in 1996. Yes, summer of 96. So I saw this movie first there. I saw it at the Dolby Theater in Austin, Texas. And I remember one thing about it, which was the spinning cane. There's a vision when our hero and heroine is drugged up and tied to a chair. She's looking at an open door, and she sees visions of everybody in the cast. And she also sees the house matron's cane that she walks with spinning by itself, and somehow that image
that's a really interesting whole scene.
It's stuck with me all this time since then. So and that's a long time to remember. 24 years to remember something. I've actually seen this movie a number of times since then, though. So I when it came up on Riff Tracks, I've played it with that. So I don't know, this movie actually is in pretty decent rotation in my little office as I get work done. It's people call it a good slasher. I would go, so first of all, when I was watching it, I thought it was an Italian movie. I mean, in a way, it doesn't feel really like a slasher film, except for that there's a lot of slashing going on eventually, but it's much more. I mean, it is a slasher, but it's also a big sort of suspenser where everyone's bad and somebody, and there's crime.
I mean, that's fair. I just there's so much of Friday the 13th in this.
True. Yeah. If Friday the 13th didn't exist, I think this movie would look a lot different. It may not even happen, but
it doesn't have the weird sort of supernatural campfire tale, stuff. Though.
Like I say, this is much more of a straight up suspense movie where some people commit a crime. They commit their crime at a fairly inopportune time, and so it becomes complicated to cover it up. And then somebody is committing murder along the way. It's almost an Agatha Christie thing, except for
oddly, the horror film that I would say this has the most in common with.
Are you going to say Bay of Blood?
No, I was going to say I Know What You Did Last Summer. There's a lot of that there, of this and that.
Boy, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yes. Wow. Well, and the funny thing is, I mean, the guy who wrote it was patterning it after the French suspense movie Diabolique, which I know everybody says is one of the greatest movies ever made, and I haven't seen it. I feel bad, but I have not seen Diabolique.
But you've seen
I know what you did
twice, so
yeah, exactly. I could have taken that 90 minutes and watched Diabolique at least once. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. That was a Lois Duncan novel from the 70s, so it could very well have had an impact on this. We don't know.
I'm kind of with Jason though. A lot of the imagery feels very Italian horror.
Yeah,
in parts.
Oh, no argument there.
Yeah, but I mean, you're totally. It's like a weird mashup of Italian horror and straight up. So everybody, Friday the 13th, right?
Right.
And
we're also going to show some skin because it's sorority.
Yes.
Very specifically Friday the 13th because of the way the murders are shot, where it's the hands going at it, and you even there's even a part that's very evocative of the arrow through the throat, pretty early on in this. I'm not going to say it definitely does have a lot of European flourishes to especially the last half of this movie when the heroine is drugged and she's kind of losing her mind a little bit. That part, it's very trippy and surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whenever they're showing the house mom as well, the way that they film her with her cane and the lead ups and stuff have that pacing. But between that, it's definitely, you're totally right that it's Friday the 13th. Absolutely.
So let's start
with the mother son thing is kind of
here's what's funny is that the actual slasher film that is almost crammed into this suspense thriller, including the deformed, spoilers, the deformed killer and all that stuff, that's so sort of perfunctory and kind of crammed into the end and everything that it's almost not there. There are even some interesting choices that we'll get to when we get to that final scene.
I find myself wishing that Eric had a bigger, admittedly, because there was movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween that because the reason why I think of this as being very much in the mold of the first Friday the 13th is that the killer is kind of a non-entity, you don't really get any backstory on him until the last 30 minutes really, and he's not really elevated
because they do a whole mystery thing through the whole movie where you're supposed to, they've even written all the dialogue so that you're not quite supposed to grasp that there is another character that you're not aware of until,
and it's pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious, but that's the reveal that there's another person.
He looks so cool, and those in that 1 or 2 minutes that he's got the clown, the porcelain clown outfit on. He's such a cool looking slasher that I kind of wish that had been the whole movie.
But
and
see,
maybe
that's what I mean.
I'm with
This is
you.
what I mean when I say that the movie is like, it has moments of cool, but then it's super dumb, because that was such a great thing where he's got the clown outfit, but yet it didn't make any sense as to why it took him so long to reveal himself, because she stands there for several minutes. And it's like, really? We're just going to do this? And then, like, why is he wearing that? So there's all these clever things that I feel like they almost are good, and then it's just falls apart because they didn't. I don't know. It falls short for me.
No human being would behave. Okay, yeah, maybe some really objectionable human beings, but I don't think that most people would behave the way people behave in this. Like it's funny. Like a lot of the movies that this is emulating are more fantastical in nature, but so this movie is technically more grounded than a lot of the movies that influenced it, and yet like you kind of have to like really suspend your disbelief to believe that these girls are behaving the way they are.
Yeah.
Having said that, in a way, fiction needs to be more believable than reality, because in fact, people commit crimes who might be you or me, can be profoundly stupid. I mean, there's an awful lot of stupid criminals out there who commit murder.
The whole Darwin Awards category for that.
It just happens, man. But that's a losing argument, because in fact, again, movies and fiction need to be more believable than reality, because reality has reality on its side. Let's just start making our way through. In fact, we begin first with a flashback, which is all in blue. One thing I want to say about this movie, by the way, that as hard as we are on it, this is an independent film. If you told me, here's $700,000, go make a movie, I don't even know that I could. I don't have these skills. I don't even know if I could write a better script. So take that for all in all.
I'm gonna go ahead and say on that second one.
Well, that's kind of you. Thank you. But this ain't easy. Anyway, we open with a flashback, and we've got and it's all in blue, because the distributors, in exchange for their money, said, take your black and white flashback, which was all artsy. The guy made it in black and white, and colorize it. And the best he could do with the money was just turn it blue. So we've got a blue flashback where a woman has a very troubled labor, and we're led to believe that she'd lost the baby. And that establishes Mrs. What's the name of
Slater?
Mrs. Slater. That establishes Mrs. Slater, played by Washington, D.C. actress Lois Kelso Hunt, who is wonderful, although we never get to hear her voice, because like something in a Giallo movie, she is dubbed from the beginning to end. And it's not exactly
a huskier voice.
Yes. But what they get, I guess they have this woman with a lower voice, but it feels weird because, there's, the dubbing never quite feels real, and so consequently you kind of feel like you're watching a foreign movie. That's the other thing that makes it feel strangely foreign to me here is that, we've clearly got this actress as dubbed. So whatever. We go from that flashback to a very long sequence that sets up all the characters. Starting with this really beautiful just tour of the University of Maryland, I think it is, as the girls are taking their pictures and packing up their dorm rooms and all this stuff, which Julia just had no time for. You just thought this was
well, because you start with them graduating, and then you cut to them painting their nails and putting on their makeup and drying their hair. I'm like, why are they waiting until after they graduate to do this? And you don't paint your nails right before you start packing. That's crazy. So that just immediately got me where I was like, okay, this is not a movie that I'm going to be able to suspend my disbelief for.
That's really funny. It's funny to me that this movie would have been believable to you, but for the shaving scene.
But for the fingernail polish. Yeah.
Yeah. But we get to see this dorm house that's going to be sort of the focus of all the action in the movie. And I got no background in the Greek system. I didn't do a fraternity. I don't know from frat houses and sorority houses. So I'm loving this world. I love this big ass house, and everybody has a room. It looks kind of awesome, The mom is there that's helping the girl pack. So I'm kind of enjoying all of this. And they take a good long time establishing, all right, these are the girls. There are 2 girls who are the most important, and then there's everybody else. And the 2 girls who are the most important are Vicky, played by Eileen Davidson, and Kathryn, played by Kate McNeil. And they are as different as night and day because Kathryn McNeil wears basically like dungarees and just all manner of like extreme and like white slacks with a sweater and all of this like sort of mom kind of outfits. And Vicky is the opposite of that. She always dresses sexy. She wears Daisy Dukes, and
For some
she's
reason, she
Eileen
has
Davidson.
that waterbed that she apparently got just before she moved out from her dad.
Yes, right.
Which,
That's
again,
true.
I was like, what? Why would that happen? That
Her
just
dad
makes
sent her a waterbed to put into her upper floor.
But apparently right before she moves out.
Yes. Right.
We can assume that it was as part of their divorce.
Right.
I can't keep the waterbed. You want to take it?
Honey, do you want the waterbed?
She's like, but I'm moving out. He's like, well, I'm just gonna throw it out. I mean, I got to move out of the house. So, yeah, that's the only way
that makes it a lot better. Like suddenly the movie just got way better for me.
I'm fascinated.
That's the only way that works because no one's like, end of semester, it's time to send my daughter a waterbed. That's some dad bachelor
not only end of
business.
semester, graduating.
Yeah. Right, that's some dad bachelor business gone wrong that happened there.
You're right. He's at the Extended Stay America.
Oh my god!
Somebody remarked that Extended Stay America should have like their second name of that hotel chain should be Divorced Dads Figuring Out Their Next Move. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, yes. We established that there's a bunch of girls, but again, these are the 2 main girls because, Kate McNeil is the smart and sweet one who is actually sweet's not the word. She's just kind of not into any of this shit. When she's at the party, she's bored. Yeah. She doesn't want to do a prank. She's not into any of this. And Vicky is like der Fuhrer of the sorority girls. She literally will tell everybody what to do. And the hilarious thing is nobody they will do.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to back you up for a second. You just said she's at the party, she's bored. When they're at the party, they already think they've murdered their house mother.
No. I mean the first party.
Bored.
I'm talking about the party when they're having. No, they're having like just a sort of little tea.
When they're just drinking
next to the pool. They've got drinks and Fig Newtons and stuff.
Okay.
Just hanging out by the pool.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's the first time that Kate sees that somebody is staring at them from the attic. But good candidate.
I refuse to believe that it's the first time. I think I'm just going to believe that she has always noticed it, and she's just never bothered to investigate because they've been living in that house for 4 years. There's no way she's never noticed this person in the attic before.
But they established, this is an important plot point. They established that every year, Mrs. Slater kicks their asses out of this place by the 19th of June.
Yeah, but that kid is not just suddenly appear at June 19th. That just happens to be when his birthday is or whatever.
No. That's very much the idea. He's in the care of the doctor and the doctor sends him home for summer. That's the plot.
Oh.
This is
I'd missed that.
But see, that just makes it extra dumb because you have a mad scientist. Let's just call it what it is. The guy is a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Taking care of a deformed, potentially homicidal person.
Yeah.
And then he's like moving him in between. There's no way in between a hospital and a sorority, like
an empty sorority house because
it's his mom's house. This is his mom's house.
She kicks the girls out every year and says to the doctor, okay, send my son Eric to spend the summer with me. Okay. And he goes along with it because since he was committing, this is my projection here, since he was committing some kind of crime with his whatever mad science he was doing back 30 years ago, he will go along with anything. They basically continue to, what's the word I'm looking for, blackmail one another forever.
Mm-hmm.
The
doctor's like, my colleague Dr. Loomis says this is a bad idea, but he's kind of a crock, so send him with the summer. I mean, what could be bad about it? Spending time with his mom.
Yes.
Like, it was just a summer in the middle of a college, which still has summer classes, by the way.
Yes. That's right.
No matter what.
Well, maybe he hasn't become a homicidal maniac until now, because remember he starts out. He's talking at one point. He's looking at the brain scan.
The doctor is.
Like,
yeah.
He's like, "Oh, it's developed. Like the patient's, brain issues have, gotten worse." However, he says that. So it could be that up until now he hasn't been dangerous. He's just not been able to take care of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that's super sad, by the way. I mean, that's it's so funny how exploitation involves taking things that in real life are tragedies and turning them into cartoonish sort of, they're just flourishes.
Like Jason Voorhees before him, he may have never murdered anybody, but once he gets into it, he's got a real knack for it.
Right.
That's the truth.
It's true. I think yes.
Whatever crazy brain fiber neuron thing that's going on in those scans has definitely amped his homicidal cunning. That's for sure. As well as his strange sense of humor. Like, you know what? I mean, I wonder. So his clown outfit, his, Harlequin outfit, mimics the one in the Jack in the Box that he has.
That's right.
It's the same. And so did his mom get him that? Like, hey, you like that Jack in the Box? What if you could be the Jack in the Box? Which sounds, again, terrible, because you got to know that if he's not quite right, like if he's got these problems that he has to be in an institution, probably he's just going to be popping out of things. Like,
right.
Hey, Mom, the Jack in the Box.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's got to be.
Holy crap.
And then when they get back to the institution, you've got a summer full of this poor kid who doesn't know any better, possibly.
Absolutely.
Like, probably jumping out of things going,
well, why'd she get him such a creepy... Why'd she get him such a creepy Jack in the Box?
Well, again, because in theory it looks like his Jack in the Box.
Creepy too.
No. I mean, the actual Jack in the Box is creepy. Not the.
I don't know.
The costume is actually pretty cool.
Because we are in a horror film.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That is
right.
I mean, she's the one with the like stabby cane that has a sharpened beak as well. So
Right,
just in
true.
case,
God,
just in case you want to brain somebody. Yeah,
just in
exactly.
case she needs to either stab a sorority girl in the back or destroy her waterbed, whichever is easier at the moment.
Right. Mrs.
on a good day, you can do both.
Here's the thing about Mrs. Slater.
Yeah.
She, if this was a Friday the 13th movie, and I'm sorry I keep going back and forth.
Please, by all means.
But
yeah. Go ahead.
She is because she is a jerk.
Yeah,
she would normally be a victim. Like she's more along the lines of a typical victim in an 80s horror film. Because she is a jerk. So it's the rest of these girls, by comparison, they're not just jerks. Like they very quickly graduate into being like full on. Let's hide the body. Evil.
Yeah, so let's move to that murder. In fact, can you, Drew? Do you feel like you have a solid enough handle? And I ask because I am a little slippery on this, and I've seen this movie many times. Do you have a solid enough handle on the prank that Vicky is pissed off and wants to play on Mrs. Slater, where she says, "Let's play a prank on Mrs. Slater, who uses a cane all the time"?
I will do my best.
Okay.
So, as you mentioned, Mrs. Slater destroyed her waterbed with her stabby cane. This girl also has a gun that was given to her by her boyfriend.
Yes. Don't do that, by the way. Don't give your girlfriend just a random gun. I mean,
don't give anybody a random gun if they haven't been obviously this person hasn't obviously she hasn't been taught.
I mean, he trained her at the Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, he does take her up into an old barn and teaches her absolutely fucking nothing.
The Riff Tracks guys called it the college rec center or whatever.
Yes.
So that was really funny.
None of the things that he teaches her are useful for gun safety. I just want to point out.
I don't know. Shooting at a sack of sand.
No, that's fine. But
Yeah,
there's nothing like.
I mean, it was at least a few feet above everybody's heads, so I'm sure that
there's none of that stuff of like, never point the gun straight, just like point it at the ground.
Well, there may have been
like,
hours that we didn't see.
Yeah, who knows? You're right. Maybe beforehand they watched a long online, maybe they
online.
This
is 1982, Jason.
Yeah, an 8mm film, perhaps. 16mm.
You're 45
don't,
and
don't
yes.
don't leave the gun on your waterbed. It's far too unstable.
So they take her cane, they put it out on a floating inner tube in the middle of this cesspool of a swimming pool.
Yeah, because for some reason she never cleans the pool, which is weird.
Yeah.
I believe that what's going on. I don't know what's in the original screenplay, by the way. I think it's possible that this pool was not that shitty in the screenplay, and when they're on site, they're like, "This is the pool we got." I don't know. I really
but
don't know.
You can clean that pool. That's not an uncleanable pool.
Well,
I guess you're right.
They talk about how it's a pool, but we can't ever go in it because
the chlorine technology existed.
Yeah, we had one in our house.
It's got lights and everything. Yeah. Okay.
So
Kane's on the inner tube. Yes.
Kane's on the inner tube. She whips out the gun, fires at one of these lights to show that there's at least one live round.
Mm-hmm.
Then she gets, she backs the old lady into the pool, like she's like, "Go get your cane." Then one of the girls is like, "Oh, this is too far."
Which is shitty, by the way, because this is an old lady who uses a cane, and she's like, "Here at gunpoint, I want you to climb into this cesspool of a cold ass pool,
the algae-ridden pool."
So that's awful. Yes, very bad person. Bad. Anyway, continue.
Everything I had no iota, like not even a milligram of sympathy for these people. Just awful. But so she makes it look like she shoots one of the other sorority girls. It's actually got blanks in the gun at this point.
I guess.
In theory,
they blanks, although she doesn't miss.
And the girl puts blood on her ankle, so she pretends like she's shot.
Yeah.
But this is the part where I'm starting to get confused, Drew. Continue.
I am confused of whether or not Mrs. Slater is shot because she accidentally loaded the gun with real bullets, or if she just has a heart attack because she's old and, not in good health. That is what I am a little confused.
Yeah, because there's no blood ever.
No.
Right.
And so does anybody have an opinion on what's going on?
I mean, I don't see any blood in the pool at any point.
And the movie's not afraid of blood, right? The movie would show blood if they wanted to show blood.
Not at all. There's gallons of the stuff in this movie.
Right. Later on, Eileen Davidson says a line where she goes, "Well, I didn't know there was another bullet in the gun." But
she's assuming that she shot her.
It's so. This is all I gotta say is this is needlessly confusing. It doesn't need to be this confusing because it doesn't matter. In other words, I don't think it's deliberately confusing. I think it's accidentally confusing. I think the filmmakers themselves have screwed up exactly how they're going to explain this crime. Maybe because they're moving too fast.
Accidentally confusing goes along with the rest of what happens. So
yes.
it does carry a theme throughout. And again, not even really knocking the screenplay, it's just how everyone reacts to everything.
Yes. Bottom line, this old lady...
Accidentally confusing is a good through line.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Old lady falls backwards in the pool, appearing to have now been... So let's put ourselves there. Appears to have been murdered by our friend Vicky, who tells us what to do.
She's not my friend.
Right. And so Vicky of the Daisy Dukes and the .45 caliber gun has now apparently killed this old lady, and she goes, "God damn it! Would you people please help me hide this body?" That's that's exactly
like,
what.
Man, we have a big party.
Nicely.
Yeah, we have a big party. This is totally gonna harsh that party. with a dead house mom. Come on.
We gotta
fix this.
I mean, admittedly, they do have an argument. They have what Save the Cat would call a debate about getting into the adventure of the film, because now begins really the adventure, which is what the heck are we going to do with this body? And Kate, not the one who's going to law school, mind you, but Kate, who's, you know, goes, oh, we got to call the police, and doesn't even like spend like 10 seconds really on that thought, because they go, oh, come on. And so she changes her mind. That's pretty much it. You know, if you guys remember more argument on her part, I would appreciate it, because it seems to me that she turns around to go march off and make a phone call, and one of the girls stands in front of her for like, you know, a millisecond, and she just goes, and so then
Fine.
And so then somebody says, go get a bunch of towels.
Well, no, okay. So to be fair, she says, go get a bunch of towels and something to weigh down the body.
No, she says, go get the towels because they will weigh down the body.
No, she doesn't. That's
she
just,
does.
we were watching the riff tracks, and that's what they were making fun of.
No, setting aside riff tracks, because they were astonished by that. But no, Vicky really does say, go get a bunch of towels. They will help.
No, she doesn't. I paid attention, and she says,
okay, so what does she say?
And something, go get a bunch of towels and something to weigh down the body. She says, and something.
So how come they don't get anything to weigh down the body?
Are you really asking me
that? They've got the
Wait, you not paid attention to the part where everybody in this movie is stupid and awful?
But the thing is, again,
I bet it's not styrofoam. Is that going to help?
This is accidentally confusing, okay? Because it's not like she comes back and Vicky yells and goes, "You're so stupid! I told you to get things to weigh down." Right. No, they just come back with towels. They tie the girl up, the woman. They tie the woman up. All the girls are getting into it now. Like now, it's really a thing that they're doing
adventure.
This is their sorority project. They're tying they tie this woman up and they roll her into the pool. You know, and she sings.
It's the Pi Theta equivalent of an Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, exactly. And she sings. So, you know, good for them. And so then mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. We're all done. Let's go have a party.
Let's go have a party. I can't believe it is so crazy, because then they have a party and it is massive.
So then when they're having the party, for
Yeah.
some reason, the biggest dork in the history of dorks goes out into the woods and for some reason gets murdered.
This makes no sense at all.
And when he gets murdered, he kind of goes, like it was like literally the worst acting I've ever seen in my entire life.
Did you catch his dialogue before he goes out there? I'm not making this up.
What was it?
This is a man who is not intended, as far as we can work out, to be developmentally delayed in any particular way. But he is telling somebody who is not there, or us, the camera, who knows, that he's going to show us his favorite tree.
Right. No, he is like, and I apologize if he ever, for some reason, hears this. You know, I'm sorry, dude. I hope you have gotten better or stopped acting. But that is not a good performance at all. And so I was just like, oh my gosh. And then to make matters worse, he gets stabbed. He gets like stabbed with it appears not to be the pointy cane, not to be the stabby cane, but rather a pointy end of the stabby cane, like not the actual.
I think her cane. It could be the same cane, because the cane has 2 points. It has the bird
but
part.
It's not. My point is not the bird beak part. It's another part. Anyway, so he gets stabbed, and suddenly we have the worst wax or plastic dummy that you've ever seen is stabbed.
You were not impressed by the prosthetic neck that gets stabbed?
Not the neck. It wasn't a neck. It was a whole person. Anyway, that whole scene I was like, no. After the nail polish thing and then all the stupid girls and now this, I was like, no, this movie has lost me.
I want to give Julia a hand, though. I really do. That you have reached a point in your career where you are critiquing gore. That is remarkable.
Instead of just refusing to watch it.
Where you're going, when this guy gets stabbed through the neck, I found it to be an unimpressive neck stab.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and say, I'm going to give props to somebody that I have already insulted. And that is the one thing that I loved about Morgan was when she gets killed, she does a great murder face. Just great murder face. Like, just, you know, like the face that she makes when she's getting like stabbed through the back of her neck, whatever, her chest or whatever.
No,
she makes a
like
great
straight
face
through the sternum, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. She's doing
Yeah.
good now.
Yes, and I'm not sure I'll remember all the. So he's the first stabbed person, and then we
It's
see
just
that
so random. There's no reason.
the killer is wringing out the old lady's clothes, and
well, no, that's after. That's after the body comes down from the attic.
No. It's after it floats up, and then guy gets stabbed because he's looking for his favorite
Yeah, but
treat.
we don't know that the body has floated up until Morgan gets like the body comes out falling out of the attic when Morgan.
No, that's not right, because remember we see the body float back. I'm not trying to disagree with you. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. Because what now begins is a whole bunch of action around the party. So the party is the whole central part of this script, where the girls have committed murder, hidden the body, and now their adventure of the evening is just to keep people from discovering that murders, as they don't catch on very quickly that their numbers are being whittled down. In fact, I'm not certain they ever catch on to the fact that their numbers are being whittled down until there's literally one.
Only the final girl.
Well, that's another thing that is very. I know I'm on repeat, but that is
please
very
no. Go ahead.
Like a Friday not even.
Well, especially the first Friday the 13th, right?
But like into the second one, really, you have this idea that people are being bumped off left and right around you, and somehow you're oblivious to it,
right?
And Admittedly, I think that's a lot easier to believe in this party than it would be at a more isolated summer camp, because there's a lot of fucking people at this party.
That's right.
Well,
none of them ever follow the girls. Like the guys, the dates, the girls will all run out, and nobody will follow them to see what the hell's so exciting.
Well, what's her face's boyfriend tries to follow her into the murder attic, and she sends him away.
I thought that was hilarious.
Just go back downstairs. Just go.
Tony,
down.
were you going to say something though?
I mean, so two parts. A, it's such a great party. That's why they don't follow anybody. Like, why would you leave that?
Yeah, I missed that band. Yeah.
Right.
True.
And people are dancing terribly. Yes. Like all of it. There's evidently beer. But also, let's not forget they almost get thwarted by three guys who decide to strip to their underwear and go swim in the crappy pool.
I did not understand this plot point.
I'm a sea pig.
I did not understand this plot point.
I guess they were like, well, I mean, it's a sorority. It's a.
I think they were trying to.
Thing.
Yeah,
they
were trying to. Yeah, exactly. They were trying to take advantage of the Animal House, popularity.
Sea pig, ha ha ha.
None of this is funny,
but that's
at all.
No, I'm not. Correct. It tries to be. It's sort of sadly. It's kind of got a Napoleon Dynamite sadness to it.
I guess that's true.
Those three guys almost thwart their best laid plans. When three guys in their tidy whities almost ruin your murder cover up. What else is going on here?
But what's worse is that at this point, one of the girls has tried to go downstairs to the whatever basement or whatever it is to turn off. to turn off.
Why are the lights there?
Yeah, no. It's not the light. The light is where they turn on at is in the room. It's the fuse. She's trying to turn off the flip.
Yeah, she's gonna pull out the fuse.
Breaker. Yeah, that or whatever, so that it's not going, so that the lights can't turn on. And so, but of course, she gets distracted by the pretty ball on the floor. And so she never does turn that off. So then somebody turns the pool lights on, which is why they even ran out there to begin with. For some reason, all these girls saw the pool lights turn on at the same time, and nobody else did.
I presume, though we don't see it, that there are great big French doors.
Maybe. But anyway, so they go out because of the pool lights turning on, and they see that there's no body in the pool. Meanwhile, Morgan is upstairs, and she discovers that the body is, in fact, in the attic, and because it falls on her when she's packing the old lady's clothes.
Yes, right. Yeah. Morgan, and that's when the mystery takes a twist.
And by the way, I'm saying the old lady, and this woman is literally 2.5 years older than I am.
Right.
So I guess I shouldn't be so fast and loose.
She's playing a woman of much more advanced
older,
years.
Though. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is. She's playing, with everything with we're meant to understand her to be, quite old with her cane and her cracking voice and all that crap. Yeah, so Morgan, for reasons that escape me, there may be dialogue explaining why. Morgan goes to the old lady's room to start collecting her clothes.
Yeah, they say, let's pack her stuff so that we can say that she went away.
Was that line there?
Yeah, there's a line there about that.
Well, thank you. All right. Good.
But why
these
during
are
the
these
party?
at this point in the movie, these girls are all in as murderers. Like
right. They're all conspirators. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
like, and it's just, which is, again, I have no sympathy for them. Like, does anybody who I want to know if there's any, like, I have sympathy, I guess, for like the rando party goer who got the cane to the head because, like, he was just there.
He was just a dork.
Yeah, but like any one of these kids, like, I wonder if anybody watches this movie and go, oh, this is just such a terrible tragedy that these girls are meeting.
No.
Yeah.
Well, nobody would think this. It's a crime movie.
The only people who defend this, if somebody's like, well, things can happen, it means they've actually tried to cover up a murder at this sorority house. Anybody's like, well, Drew, I mean, I feel for them a little bit because, sometimes bad things happen. Like, oh, you've covered up a murder. Do I know too much now? Is the next question you should ask.
Yeah, maybe keep that conclusion to yourself.
Like anybody who's defending, like, things can happen. I mean, people like fall down the stairs onto a knife or something sometimes, and I really felt for these girls. You're like, no, I don't.
He had it.
I know far too much. We're gonna watch a different movie. I'm not sympathetic to.
There are some things that people in this movie do that it's difficult to imagine ourselves doing. I mean, truly,
like
I'd cover
Name
up a
one
crime
thing.
for you, Tony. I mean, but hanging out in that attic is beyond complaining.
I'm, at that point, man, it's fine. I've made my choices. You don't have to. Look, you've got a wife and kids. You don't have to. It's just sorry.
I'm not saying I'm like Professor Moriarty, Napoleon of crime or whatever. I just think that if I did commit random old lady murder, I think I probably wouldn't try. I would cancel my giant party.
Yes,
it stands to reason.
Yes.
I think they couldn't because they would be too suspicious. Is the problem?
I guess that's what they're thinking.
Go through with the party.
That's how that goes in the Greek system.
Yeah,
right.
It is.
Well, bro, they canceled the party. They must have murdered their house mother.
Well, I've heard, I'm given to understand from the sequel that the sequel doesn't go this way, that it has a different murder.
This movie has a sequel?
Did I say sequel? I'm so sorry.
Remake.
The remake. The remake with Carrie Fisher has apparently a totally different, because Carrie Fisher plays the house mother in the remake. And
now
I guess I've got to see it.
Why did you have to say Carrie Fisher? Now I totally want to watch that.
Right? I know, me too.
So anyway, I don't know where are we? Where the big plot points? Okay, people are getting killed left and right. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, not forget that they decide to put a body in a dumpster and push the dumpster around.
Right.
Into a police car.
Yeah. Because the body shows up.
This is
Again, and it falls out of the attic. I told you.
Yes. Yeah.
The cop is why I say this universe is inherently corrupt. It's not just the characters, because like they literally run this garbage can into this
with a body in it.
Car,
yes.
With a body in it. He just gets minorly annoyed, doesn't report it, and just like, get that thing away from my car. When in reality, he should be really pushing to see what's in that.
No,
thing.
because he gets called away right then. He goes, I'm going to look at what's in here. And then right then he gets called away to check out something else.
So the universe is conspiring to help them. And that's nice, I guess.
I don't know that I would say it's conspiring to help them.
You've also got a black cop who has to deal with a bunch of rich white kids.
I know.
And he's probably... By this point, he might also go, I could take them in, but their rich dads are just going to make. Do I want to spend that time? Because the rich dads.
And honestly, could I care less what they've got in this stupid dumpster? Yes.
Yeah. Because he wants to like bring them in and mess with them because, hey, it's really stupid to be, because they give him the worst excuses because he's smart enough to go, so you're doing a prank at 1:30 a.m. Really?
Right.
Like you're getting rid of the garbage or whatever.
Taking out
Like,
the
none of
yeah.
it holds water. And but again, the world weariness of just
Yeah.
damn it, I just needed. There's so much better things I could be doing than dealing with these idiots.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. And where they're actually headed, by the way, Eileen Davidson's big idea, Vicky's big idea, is that they're going to take this body and bury it in a fresh grave.
Which is pretty clever.
Yes, it is.
The idea that you're going to dig dig the extra deep and then cover it back up with dirt at the bottom of the grave.
And then when they drop in a coffin, you'll have made the body.
Yeah, as long as you
transport the body in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't carry it and they weren't going to put it in anybody's car because that wasn't going to be cool.
Yeah, but
well, they end up putting it into they move it into into somebody's van. It doesn't matter. A lot of the details are slipping away for me, but regardless, when they are now, the scenes begin to converge, because while Vicky and one of the others are headed out to, and I apologize to the other, I'm sure you're a wonderful actress with a full life, but they go out to bury the body and they get killed by our killer. And meanwhile, Kate has been exploring the attic and finding out that apparently it's a little child's room, and she finds all kinds of creepy shit up there. And I'm telling you, if I were to discover this room, at least at night, and I'm a giant human, I would not stay up there. It's too creepy and weird.
But would you send away your wife? I'm just kidding.
Right. So you come up and go,
you get to watch at the party.
Right. I'm up there. You, Julia, come up from the party and you go, wow, I can't believe you discovered this amazing room up here. And then you get on the tricycle and start riding it around and going, woo, woo. No. I mean,
but then would you go on back and then you stay, or would you leave?
You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't know for sure if she's once you realize you're significant, the person you're with is willing to go woo woo and ride on a tricycle, you probably would send them away, because pretty soon you're going to just go, I just don't think this is going to work out.
Well, especially because it was it was a blind date. Yeah,
this guy's what an idiot.
Right.
Jesus.
What I'm saying is she sends them away merely because, like, oh, that's this guy? No, you just go.
First the corsage, now this. This is not going to work.
Yeah, the band is great. You should be there.
Right.
Please. Now.
It is cool that, as idiotic as these girls are, they are light years ahead of all the men of this campus. Truly.
Oh yeah, the men are way more terrible and dumb, which is saying a lot. And like really running through it, it's like, wow. That is one thing I did keep noticing, though, is as just mind-numbingly stupid sometimes that these people are. All of the guys are way more dumb.
Oh no, they're gross and violent and
just like, wow, how did any of you make it through college?
Interestingly enough, the film would actually pass the Bechdel test with flying colors. Absolutely. That's the crazy thing.
Because they murdered a woman.
The what's the
break
test?
That glass ceiling.
At least one scene with two women discussing something that is not a man.
And it would have been a problem if they had murdered a guy, but since they murdered a woman, then it's okay.
Yes, but they talk about there are lots of scenes. This movie, I do appreciate that this movie centers women and centers their experience.
It just happens to make them terrible. Terrible
centers them as murderers.
And look, I'm not going to say that women should be allowed to be all kinds of character, right?
Yeah.
But these people are just, I'm broken record. I just I wish I feel like a bad person saying these things, that I was enjoying seeing these people get killed because they were just so terrible. I feel like a misogynist now that I'm saying this aloud. But alive. Well, I wish the old lady had been alive, so none of this would have happened. If they had just gone home, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, that's true. So we should get to,
if they had just not shot her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, slashers need a lot less excuse than this. That's the thing we were talking about. The whole setup, all the suspense movie stuff.
The first guy he killed didn't do anything wrong.
Well, this is my point. I mean, all the suspense movie stuff of, hey, we commit a murder, let's conspire to hide it, and blah blah blah.
His motives were enough, Julia.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that the killer in this is completely understandable motives. Like even if he perhaps takes it a bit too far and he kills people that had nothing to do with.
Sure, but they killed his mom, and he's gonna but that's what's funny.
Plus, he's definitely got something wrong with him, with his brain.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. But my point is, this movie is way overachieving the need for backstory, and that's why we talked about it earlier as being a bizarre mashup.
The doctor shows up at like the last minute, after just basically to explain everything / drug the final girl,
right?
And let her
to make her be bait.
Balls.
Yes,
yeah. I don't want to hurt anybody. You just gotta be bait.
Yes, that's just nonsense.
Is the boyfriend? Did the boyfriend make it? I guess he only got shot with a tranq.
He gets shot with a tranquilizer. We never hear from him again, but presumably he makes it. The party is presumably over. The people have presumably walked or driven away home. Nobody noticed. Yes. Likewise, the boyfriend of Vicky, who shows up at the dance and says, "Hey, where's my gun?" She goes, "Oh, it's upstairs." And we never hear from him again either. So there are some there's some dropped balls here. So
in addition to the murder,
C-Pig becomes the owner of a used car place
called C-Pigs.
Yeah.
In addition to all the people that were murdered, I am now thinking about how many people were probably additionally killed by this party from drunk drivers.
Yes. Well, if the house is on
campus.
Sorority Row and they're literally at the edge of the mall. In fact, remember at the beginning, we saw one of the sorority sisters run across the mall and up to the front steps of the house. So in fact, they're literally on campus. So I said that about driving home. Almost nobody would be driving home. Most of everybody would just wandered across the mall like ghouls from Night of the Living Dead, and so now they're all gone. So I really visually love the moment of artsiness when the girl is, as you say, tripping balls. She's tied to the chair, and suddenly she sees visions of the whole cast, including the old lady's cane, which spins around. It's a great sequence. Looks really
It is a good sequence. I like that.
Yeah. And the movie wraps up super fast because the reason she's tied there is because the doctor is using her as bait. He accidentally tranquilizes the boyfriend. She gets away. The doctor gets iced by the killer. She sees the killer. I don't even make out his face. I couldn't see his face at all.
You could. Yeah, you totally could see his face.
My eyes must be very bad because I couldn't see his face. I just literally could not see.
Yeah, he just looks like the Elephant Man or whatever. He's just kind of got a
Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Right, he's informed. They took a nod from Friday the 13th.
Okay, or like the Fun House. What's
a lot like Fun House?
Yeah. A lot, yeah. And which is around this time, right? Well, I can't even remember what year Funhouse was.
The Funhouse, I think, is around this time. Hold on here.
I'm looking at 81. So 81? Yes. Yeah. Right around the time. Definitely didn't influence it because it was being filmed simultaneously. But a lot of similarities. This is also the point, by the way, when Kate sees the best shock, which is the head in the toilet.
Oh, that was so gross.
Good gag. Yeah.
Ugh.
Like the fact that we never get to see him full on as someone who likes to see monsters, I think that's another reason why I find this movie a little underwhelming ultimately, other than my general irritation with the people.
No, you're right. It feels like it's missing some extra chase, because the movie does wrap up I say it wraps up quickly. It wraps up super quickly because she ends up facing the killer one more time after he changes into his clown costume and successfully camouflages himself in the creepy room that she climbs up to for reasons that are not even worth trying to explain. And
it's a clever thing, but it's also dumb because why? Like, why would he take time out after having killed these people to now put on his clown costume and wait in the attic in case somebody goes up there, and then continue to wait even after she's right next to him for quite a long time? I don't know. It's cute.
Playfulness on his part, like Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
And but after she seemingly kills him by pushing him over the
banister,
that's the end, and we see the killer laying there, and then his eyes pop open. That's literally the end. We don't know if she survives or she dies or anything. It feels like the movie doesn't have an ending. I mean, didn't you guys feel like you just ran out of movies?
It's Halloween. It's just setting you up for the next movie, but there just wasn't one for the sequel.
But did she actually escape the house? I mean, I
don't know. She's still in the attic. Yeah, she's still. That's why I say it's like Halloween. She's still in the house. She's still in the attic, and he now has his eyes open. She's just lying there. Remember, she's lying there recovering because she was so just like drugged and tired.
Yeah.
I like how I still like the fact that the doll also is a knife. Like, how's that?
That was so weird. I was like, why would you make a doll with the head as like a knife?
I'm sorry. Thank you for mentioning that. I completely forgot.
Yeah, that's how she stabbed him.
That's one of the more Italian European horror movie things in here is you pull off the head. It's also a knife.
But how did she know that?
And that's
I'm not saying that it's not cool, but how did she know?
How did she know it would be that? Maybe all the dolls in that world are
every doll in this universe has a sharpened steel rod that runs down.
It reminds me of the Saturday Night Live thing with the dangerous toys from Jane Curtin back in the Jane Curtin days. It's a baby doll. No, it's a knife.
Or whatever. There's a giant switchblade as well. He's looking look. I mean, it's like because she pulls it off like it looks very deliberate. Like, oh well, if I pop the head off, now I've got a knife.
Oh, here's
I
a
can
weapon.
do something with this.
Oh, baby doll. Here's a weapon.
It doesn't seem like, whoa, who makes this? This is out of control. It's like, pull off the head. There's a knife, just like I thought. All that time I spent playing with dolls was worth it because I know that in every one is a knife.
Yes.
My whole childhood I spent with these knife dolls, and now it's going to come to some good.
And when we weren't playing with our dolls, we used, we were cutting up carrots for soup for stew.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Your version of House in the Big Woods is way cooler than mine. That's for sure. Okay, so that's the end. That's the end.
That's the end.
Now, believe it or not, there was a filmed other scene originally where it's dawn, sort of like a Friday the 13th. It's the next day, and Kate is dead because he managed to kill her, and she's floating in the pool. So obviously what happened was they got rid of that so that they could have a quote unquote happy ending where she maybe survives,
or at least when they could have a sequel.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. So,
I like this idea though that I kind of, after watching this, want to see a skit where you just keep pulling things, like you keep pulling things apart and inside each one is a knife.
Yes.
Like you unplug your iPhone cable and the knife pops out, or but everything is just crap.
Oh my gosh.
Everything's a knife. Why not?
My Lando Calrissian figure, if you pull off his head.
Open up a laptop. Bloop. Oh, look, knife. Or
I'm just imagining this kid, this Sid kid, Sid from Toy Story kid who just takes the heads off of everything. It's like, well, everything is knives.
Right.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, of course I'm taking
First
the heads
thing
off.
he does every time is
take off the head, find the knife.
Look, another knife.
That is so strange when you think about it.
In them? Well, no.
There's no effing way that was in the screenplay. I'm just thinking about this. Like, you're typing away.
No, man.
And you go.
I mean, I'm sure that the intent clearly it seems to be that he's made this like
Oh.
the knife part is there because
I didn't understand
But
that.
again,
All
why
right.
would she know that?
However, the way it plays out is she goes, boop, that's right, knife time.
If only I had a
course
weapon.
there's a
Oh
knife.
wait, baby doll.
Yes, exactly.
I'm glad it's like every other doll I've played with. Now I'm in business.
Because that's what this world is like, yeah.
Yeah.
Good grief.
But I mean, I think the intent is it's dangerous because he's made all this dangerous stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. But it is definitely the most European horror part, or one of the most. Because it's also in a Harlequin.
Yes. It also makes you wonder what the hell the tricycle can do, right? I mean, because the like that thing must have other powers that the boyfriend doesn't
each handlebar
discover.
You pull that off and it's a knife.
And there's little like knives that come out of the pedals so that you can knife somebody sideways like in Grease.
Stupid boyfriend doesn't even discover that. He's just like, woo! And she's like,
oh my God.
Go play with Sea Pig there, baby.
I have so much more enjoyed this conversation than I did the actual movie.
I'm really glad to hear that. I really am. It's so, I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of crazy Italian movies. And this, some guy just went out and made one in Maryland. He was just like, and so I'm impressed by that. All right, we should get our final thoughts on The House in Sorority Row. I mean, the time has really flown. I mean, I feel. All right, what order did we go? It was Drew, Julia, Tony, and then I'll go. So, Mr. Drew, I'm sorry if we've talked over you. I feel that we have. I feel like we've just been going nuts. Lay it on us. What are your final thoughts?
You didn't talk over me because I feel like after a certain point I didn't have much to add other than like an abstract irritation at the characters in this movie. Final thoughts. There's some cool visuals in this movie. I do not think that I would put this on a list of greatest horror films or even greatest slasher movies if we're going to.
I think there's better slashers.
Qualified it, yeah. Like right. I enjoyed watching this. I definitely enjoyed talking about it. Like I'm with Julia that I had a better time actually taking the movie apart and discussing it than I did watching it. But it was fun. Like it was, when someone says a horror movie is fun, this is often the kind of movie where it's kind of like, Jason, don't throw things at me from Colorado.
Go crazy.
I would consider this to be kind of a lightweight movie in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Which isn't a knock. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
So and sometimes that's what you need. So when often you hear like, oh, a horror movie was fun. This is the kind of movie I think I would probably, that's what would bubble up in my head. That being said, if I were going to get in the mood to watch a movie of this style, I probably would more likely rewatch one of the Friday the 13th than revisit this.
Oh, for sure.
My bias on the Friday the 13th franchise is very well noted.
Sure. Well, I mean, if somebody were to say fun movie to me, I think of like Lost Boys, which is a different, but I guess that's true of this as well. I mean, I'm not really sure. Different kind of. Sorry, Tony.
That's all right. I was just laughing because you said lightweight and fun, and it has a decapitated bloody head in a toilet.
I have a weird idea.
Lightweight bloody head in a toilet movie.
I have a weird idea of what's fun. I mean, like Friday the 13th has Kevin Bacon getting his neck stabbed through with an arrow. So,
Oh no, I get where you're coming from being a horror movie fan. It's just if you explain to somebody else and you go, this is a lightweight fun movie, there's a large subsection of people who go, it had a bloody head in a toilet.
But let me explain that just a tad bit more detail. I don't want to talk forever, but like when you think of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is not as violent as this actually, but you just feel dirty after watching it.
No,
Like it is
I get
so
you.
unrelenting.
I totally understand. You didn't even have to really explain it. I enjoy horror in a way, and we both, I think we both are on the same page. It's funny in the aggregate to me to think of it, the difference between those, and to a lot of people it's the same, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Like they're the vast majority of people who go, I don't know this from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Both of them had bloody cut up parts.
Yeah.
But
it's funny, like
pantheon
Texas
of things.
Chainsaw Massacre 2 is more violent, but I would actually consider that to be the more fluffy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, because it's got it's more fun, it's a little bit more humorous, right. It's a little bit, and so like, yeah, I guess in a way, like, no, this isn't exactly Lost Boys, but it's not Last House on the Left either.
No, I'm with you. It's not harrowing in the way of those films. You're exactly right.
No, I agree with you totally. I didn't merely laugh at the absurdity when you think of the spectrum of film.
Yeah.
It's funny to kind of put this in a light. It makes me kind of laugh, and it's humorous to me. Not ironically, but just the way that we think of things might be different than a lot of people do. And I don't know. I'm fascinated by that absurdity in life.
Yeah.
This is the only reason.
I'm with you. Wonderful. Thank you, Drew. Julia, final thoughts on The House in Sorority Row.
Yeah. So again, a lot of things that were unbelievable in not a horror movie way, but just in a, not able to suspend my disbelief way. A lot of things were really dumb. A lot of people were really dumb, but some really clever special effects, some really clever murder or like, weapon choices, especially the baby doll with the knife in it. So I think, like I say, I think there were a few things that kind of saved it from being just an awful film, but I did think it was not a good film. It's not something I enjoyed watching per se, but I, like I said, did enjoy talking about it.
Well, thank you very much. Tony, final thoughts.
I actually, as far as horror movies go, I dig on this all right. I've seen equally baffling choices in a bunch of other movies, so that doesn't really bother me, other than it's just kind of bizarre to watch each time. I think there's a lot of great visuals. There's really good gore, like the VFX in it, had some cool stuff. Parts of the setup are actually really interesting. All the parts don't quite congeal, I think, is really where it's at.
Yeah.
Like there's parts that feel very disparate, and that's I think the real problem. But I actually dig on it. The parts that are good are actually done really well. Also, spoiler alert, if you're listening to this through headphones, you might want to take them off, because this podcast is also a knife if you aren't careful. Once you've reached this point, this podcast is also a knife. So be very sorry. That's just the rules. That's just the rules. My apologies.
Wonderful.
God, can you not you just got me imagining how creepy it would be to have like headphones that had built-in knives, and so that you could like press a button and suddenly the person stabbed through their brain. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Is it?
You would need like some big clam, like big can headphones, so that you can actually fit at least like a
or just a telescoping blade.
Well, okay. I have studio headphones because I'm in my music room. Yeah. So all of this is I think I've seen this. Maybe it might be an Italian movie.
It sure sounds like an Italian movie.
Use it. It also makes me want to use that at some point as well.
Hell yeah.
Holy moly. Deaf in stereo, no less.
I love that idea. Thank you, Julia. That's really great. That's if I use that, I will
credit Julia and Tony.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
It came from the room.
It came from the room.
One time Jason tried to take credit for something that I had come up with, and he just goes, "It came from the room." I was like, "No, it came from me. You're just stealing my idea."
Way to be a man, Jason. How old school Edwardian Victorian that is.
Yeah.
Came from the room.
Yes. It is very Matisse, isn't it? So just like actually it was Rodin, right? Who took who took credit for
I mean,
Camille?
name it.
I think it was actually Mothra.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
No, Rodan
So-
would take credit for Mothra's. This Mothra's the woman in this.
Yes. Rodan would take credit for Mothra. He absolutely would.
Anything Mothra did, Rodan takes credit. That's
Gerard
not enough of a
Depardieu
tangent.
played Rodan in a movie, and I was just envisioning
Not the
like a
Mothra Rodan,
remake
the other one.
where a giant Gerard Depardieu is walking around with Mothra and taking credit for the peanut, and he's just sort of a giant Gerard waving his arms around.
All right, we've gotten to the delirious
Okay.
part of the evening.
I know.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say. I really enjoyed watching this. Thank you very, very much. Let's do our endorsements. And it's been a tough week. We may all have difficulty coming up with endorsements. We will see. Drew, do you have anything to endorse for us?
Oh, I actually have 3 endorsements.
Oh,
I
well,
have
thank goodness.
No
Okay.
difficulty. I have them prepared like a boss. I'm gonna go in order of starting with the thing that is the lease in the Castle of Horror wheelhouse, in which Jamie and I recently watched the HBO Perry Mason reboot. Which I can't believe I'm talking about Perry Mason as a character in 2020. That's kind of weird to me.
Yes.
But I guess everything old is in fact new again, and this show is very much not your grandfather's Perry Mason. Like I think that has to be stressed. That being said, it's got a terrific cast and some pretty decent writing. And if you like film noir and you like mystery stuff, which I do, I really enjoyed it. It doesn't quite stick to landing in the very last episode, but it's still worth watching. And I heard it got renewed for a second season, so I'm excited to see where they're going to take this version of Perry Mason in the second season, because I do definitely think it's a very worthy update of the character. I am kind of still marveled that I'm talking about Perry Mason in 2020. That's just bizarre to me. 180 degrees away from that, another thing I watched when I basically was sitting on my ass stuffed with turkey is a recent horror comedy called Uncle Peckerhead. Yes, that's the title of the movie. Which is I passed on watching it. It kept coming up in my recommendations on Amazon, and I passed on it many times because I heard the title and I was like, no, that's dumb. But the one time I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna watch the trailer, and I watched the trailer and I was like, it looked kind of interesting. And so what this movie is about is it's about a punk band called Duh that are going on their very first tour, but at the last second they get their van, someone repossesses their van, and so through a series of misadventures, they end up teaming up with a guy that seems like he's a homeless man living out of his van. He agrees to drive them out, and his name is Peckerhead. What he actually is a monster, or he turns into a monster every night at midnight for 13 minutes and eats people. And it's strange to be talking about a movie where that is the plot and that is the title. And then I'm going to say, this is actually a movie that has a lot of heart to it. And it does. There's like some times where I felt very, very moved by this movie, because so like anytime I see movies about punk rock, one of the things I always feel like they often get wrong is a lot of the times it's like, oh, punk rock is dark, or punk rock is self-destructive, or punk rock is cynical, or whatever. But there is this sort of like scrappy optimism about punk rock, and there's particularly being in a punk band. And I think this movie really captures that to the point where I would actually say that I have to assume that some of the people that worked on this movie had to have been in a touring band
Hmm.
at one point, because they just capture life on the road really well, whereas it's dealing with terrible show promoters and arguing over who has control over the radio, or there's going to be one one band member that has an itinerary list that they take really seriously and nobody else does, and like that kind of stuff. So I would actually have watched this movie if it was just about the band. Like, I even really liked the song, like the songs that the fake band performed. Like, I thought the music was actually pretty good. But then you have this added thing of it being a monster movie, and there's this sort of revenge fantasy thing. Like, for example, this is a bit of a spoiler, but like a club owner screws them out of their money, so Peckerhead eats him and empties out the cash register. So like there's this like weird like power fantasy aspect of it, where the roadie is literally a monster, and the sort of Faustian aspects of that. So really good movie that I'm glad I gave a chance, despite it having kind of an off-putting title. And I'm asking you to get past that, because it's such a good movie. Third, my third endorsement, and this is one that I think might be the most difficult sell, despite the fact that I just talked about a movie called Uncle Peckerhead. I watched a show on Netflix called Paranormal. That's an English translation, because it's actually an Egyptian show, and it's about a hematologist named Rafat, who is he's kind of a Dana Scully. He's a skeptic, and yet he keeps finding himself involved with like hauntings and monsters and things like that, and he somehow becomes Egypt's number one paranormal investigator, despite him not really. But what's interesting about it, there's two things that are interesting about it. As a horror fan, every episode in this first season is kind of a different take on like a archetype. Like there's like one episode that's about a mummy, and it's really interesting to see something that's actually a product of Egypt. So it's like a mummy story with no colonialism in it. And then they do their version of King Kong. They do their version of a haunted house. They do their version of Freddy Krueger. So it's a decolonized horror universe.
That's interesting.
That is
yeah.
It is very fascinating. And the other thing that's interesting about it is, because it's not an American production, you have a hero who is not only extremely cynical, kind of an asshole. He chain smokes his way through the whole show. And he's got a heart condition, and he's no like stud either. He's not like handsome or even quirky looking. He's like very disheveled looking. He's balding. His clothes doesn't always look like it's quite clean. Actually, I would say this is a better version of John Constantine without it being John Constantine. Like this is just it's really interesting to see like this kind of show from a foreign perspective, because they do stuff that we would never do. And I think anybody looking for a slightly different take on like monsters and the supernatural and stuff like that see it from the perspective of a different culture, particularly things that we are used to seeing, like mummies and stuff like done from actually the country of origin, instead of us sort of appropriating that.
Absolutely.
It was just fascinating. So like, I was very sorry. It's only 6 episodes long, so I was very sorry when it was done. But I'm hoping it gets renewed for a second season, because I think it's an interesting show. And but again, it's an Egyptian show, and I know that might be a tough sell to some people who don't want to watch something with subtitles or a dub on it or something like that, because that's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. But I guarantee you it's worth it.
Okay, wow, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, I challenge you all. You're down for 3. Julia, what do you have for us?
Well, I have one endorsement and then just one mention. Actually, two mentions. So I just
So
wanted to
3.
mention. So
Okay,
no,
go
but
ahead.
one, if only one's really an endorsement because I've already mentioned the other two. They're just different things. So one thing I wanted to mention was just Drew talked about Dana Scully. I just wanted to say that Gillian Anderson's performance in The Crown is really stunning. Like I'm just like she plays Margaret Thatcher and she's completely lost in that role. So if you haven't watched The Crown yet, that's. I'm not going to say that I was not thrilled with the final episode. Like we kind of both felt like they should have ended at a different point in the history of this family, but whatever. But it's really well done, very interesting. But I've already endorsed The Crown before. I've already endorsed The Undoing. But if you haven't seen The Undoing, all the episodes are now available. Very twisty and turny. The one I wanted to endorse is actually something nothing to do with the podcast theme whatsoever. It also has a very odd name. It's a interesting little picture called A Boy Called Sailboat, and it is an award-winning film by writer-director Cameron Nugent, and it's just so sweet. It's like if you just want something that's just going to make you just smile and just kind of be like lost in another world where there's not a pandemic or politics or anything, it's the sweetest film. I just loved it. It's about this little boy who finds a little guitar and just kind of has this journey with these people in his life on the border in like New Mexico. And, J.K. Simmons is in it and a few other people, but mostly unknowns. And it's just the sweetest film. It's on, I believe it was HBO, right? Is that where we watched it, Jason? HBO? I think so.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my endorsement.
Very cool. Thank you. Tony, what about you?
So mainly, I haven't watched a ton of movies. I've mainly been playing the new Yakuza game, which is perfect for me because what I really love about these games is there's a really good crime drama through line. Like the story is interesting. It would make great TV show. This one's good because it's kind of deviates from the characters. It's a brand new storyline with new characters and everything. So, and they oddly enough made it a turn-based fighting system. So it's more like an RPG. But the level of absurdity when it's super absurd is great. And another thing I like about these games is you can play the crime drama part, or if you want to, you can just go play virtual darts or blackjack or shogi, which I always miss because I haven't felt like I have the time to learn shogi to be good enough to play against the computer. So it's like it's like chess basically, but with slightly different moves and stuff like that. So, but as hard as it is to play against the computer, I don't know if I have enough time, if I played enough shogi to do that. But those are the kinds of things, or like there's a can mini game where you just drive around collecting cans and dodging stuff. But you can just go do that for as long as you want to. You don't even have to continue the story. And then there's a lot of really absurd parts as well. And I just love that dichotomy of hard-hitting crime drama meets just genuinely absurd craziness. That is what I look for in a lot of games, and I've been enjoying that a lot. I also got sent the trailer for a movie that's going to be hit video, digital on demand tomorrow, called Beast Mode. And it's billed as a horror comedy. It's definitely it's the comedy, especially some of the sound effects and just what it's doing sometimes can be pretty broad. So it's one of these movies that I definitely had fun watching. Your mileage may vary, I guess, would be where I would put it. But it was cool. C. Thomas Howell is in it. James Hong has a part. Ray Weiss also has a part. Like there's all these characters, and it's as much a skewering of the Hollywood system as it is horror. You can definitely, especially with people we know and kind of knowing the people in film, you can go, oh, okay, that's kind of who they're making fun of, or who is this person, etc. And it's sound effects wise is also played pretty broad, but it's definitely knows exactly what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of has a throwback to some of the gore and stuff in 80s. And I had fun watching it. Again, we get sent screeners, and sometimes you get one, you're like, I need to check this out. This has like bits that sound like they congeal. Like I said, the broad parts are broad enough that it's definitely your mileage will vary. But if you're looking for a good distraction something that kind of is tongue in cheek about Hollywood, and still has a bunch of horror elements. Beast Mode, comes out tomorrow on demand. So if that sounds like, if it's got all the parts, and you can watch the trailer online and everything. If that sounds like it's up your alley, give it a try. I had fun, watching the screener. So it's cool to see people doing. There's recognizable people that I dig on. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it's it leans in on the comedy, and I dig horror comedy, so definitely it does have the kind of newer horror comedy veneer, which works for some people and doesn't for others. So, but it's fun.
What do you mean by that? What's a new horror comedy veneer? What is that? Are you talking about like in terms of what the film looks like?
It's billed as a kind of throwback to the 80s, but there's I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like it's not a knock. It's the way that it's definitely of a new Hollywood in what it's skewering about Hollywood, and how it looks. There's there's some pretty crazy gore in it as well. But it's a mix of traditional effects and CG. But it's throwback, but definitely feels a movie from this year. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Okay. Well, no, but I think that's an interesting endorsement. Okay, I have nothing that interesting. I just want to mention Tubi is the app where most of us watched this movie, and the house on Sorority Row. And the amazing thing about Tubi is, we've just gotten so much joy out of the fact that they've got all these old horror movies. And the cool thing is that if you watch one, it'll just queue up another one afterwards, just sort of random. And I've discovered so many really cool things. It's cool. Like, finished playing House on Sorority Row, and it just started randomly playing this late 60s Argentinian vampire movie. How awesome is that? So I think Tubi is pretty cool. You should check it out. It's, although as Drew pointed out, a lot of ads. That's what you get. It's free, so the advertising is abundant. Cool.
It depends too. Like I noticed watching late at night, sometimes there seems to be more ads, and sometimes every once in a while, I guess it's sad for that people who depend on those ads. It'll just kind of freak out and not show you as many.
Yeah. And some clearly they break and the ads won't work.
Right.
So it'll cut to a ad, it won't show it, and it'll come back. So yeah.
Although I did have one time where it just kept playing ads.
Oh, really?
I turned it off and then came back in. So I guess that's how they make up some of their money. Because I was like, This says like 5 ads. I think this is played like 10 times.
All I know is that Tubi really wants me to order some Domino's pizza.
At least it's not. At least political ads are over, because some of those maybe.
Yeah, for real. That's true. That's a totally good point.
But I get also Tubi, and I think it happens more on Shout.
Mm-hmm.
Being in Texas, sometimes it just decides I need the Spanish version of a car commercial.
Mm-hmm.
It just does it, and it's it's fine. It's just I don't know. I'm just a weirdo about statistics and like, why is this showing me this and what demographic? Like, when you realize that you're watching a show and it may be an older show, and then you go, oh, these people think that I'm really old.
Yeah,
like,
I experienced that a lot. I
Like,
can't tell you how
that
many times. Yeah, I'll be watching a cop show and it cuts to commercial, and suddenly there's Pat Boone selling me a walk-in bathtub. And no disrespect. In fact, honestly, looks like a pretty awesome. But yes, I'm like,
I think
you think
also that's the thing, is you're old enough. Sometimes you go, and that makes me both happy and sad.
I mean, really, just because I'm watching Green Acres, does that mean that necessarily?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish it would work though too. So like somebody somewhere, their 12-year-old is like into older stuff, and they go, "Hey, mom and dad, can we? Like, I saw this on TV. Can we get a walk-in bathtub?
Right?
Because that looks great. Like, I hope that somewhere out there, somebody's like,
yes,
you don't even have to be old. Like, it's just something that looks like." That sounds
Sure.
like a good idea.
It's awesome. Things like 4 feet tall.
My favorite is
I mean-
this terrible looking, like super old school thing that's like the Bible. It reads the Bible to you,
Oh yeah,
but it looks like the early 80s.
right.
And it's like, put it in your car, and it's just really expensive. It looks like maybe like a BMW. Like nobody.
It is essentially
has a
an
car.
MP3 player with a speaker.
Yeah.
That plays
But
one
with
MP3.
It's
Yeah.
It's just it's so baffling. I love that product.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
You know, if so yes. All right. This has been our discussion, remarkably, of the House on Sorority Row. I'm really thankful that y'all could join us, and we cannot wait to hear from you on the Facebook page. And thank you so much, Drew, Tony, Joya. Thank you so much. Welcome back after our break. I'm excited, and we'll see what we have in store next week. Bye.
Very cool.